So Trey McBride 2 years ago, what'd he do? He stood out at the Senior Bowl. Michael Wilson last year stood out at the Senior Bowl. Both those picks worked out pretty well for the Arizona Cardinals. So we go out to the Senior Bowl. It's been going on all week. Matt Miller, ESPN NFL Draft analyst and insider, kind enough to join us and maybe just give us some major takeaways and what differentiates this year maybe from past years and what stood out so far, Matt.
Yeah, guys, appreciate you having me on. What stands out this year, I'm not freezing, number one. It's 65 and sunny.
Nice.
So last year I think I was probably like shivering, hiding, from the rain. So this is weather you guys would appreciate. No, it's a talented group here this year. There's not the top 5 pick at quarterback. Some of the top talented wide receivers who were underclassmen aren't here, but it's still a really talented group. Great offensive linemen. Couple really good pass rushers, one corner, Quinyon Mitchell from Toledo, who's really stood out. So, this year doesn't have there's not a guy down here that's going to be a top 5 pick. But there's a couple players who have looked like they could be top 10 or top 12 picks. So it's been a really, really good year and really good week so far.
So, Matt, talk to us a little bit about the relevance of the Senior Bowl now. Is it still this coveted event that it has always been?
Yeah, I think so. So I've been doing this for a while, since 2010 when I started at Bleacher Report. And I think the Senior Bowl, the relevance has changed, because of the combine, because of, teams are putting more, into their scouting departments. I think it's a little easier to get out and actually see these guys. But, here's why the Senior Bowl matters. A couple reasons. Number one, your general manager has not been on the road watching college football every weekend. It's just not possible to do that. So for general managers and even high-level, scouting directors, this is their first opportunity to see some of these guys in person. Sure, they've seen, they've all been on the road watching Caleb Williams. So maybe you've seen Brendan Rice, his wide receiver. But, you haven't seen Toledo tape. You haven't seen, South Alabama tape. So it's a great opportunity to get eyes on players. But it's also a great opportunity for some smaller school guys to show they belong against Power 5 players. Players there's South Alabama quarterbacks here. There's Toledo corners. There's Central Florida wide receivers who are having good weeks. So I think that's where it really still matters. We're not getting the high-end picks, like the year that, Josh Allen and Baker Mayfield were on the same roster down here throwing one after another. That doesn't happen as much anymore, but there's still a lot of value.
Hey, Matt Miller, ESPN NFL Draft and analyst and insider, live from the Senior Bowl in Mobile. So we saw last year, Anthony Richardson came all the way up to number 4. And I've been trying to educate Wolf, Matt, about how the best thing to happen to the Arizona Cardinals is if that quarterback, right, QB Rising, could come all the way up. I'm seeing a tweet here from the Senior Bowl that says Michael Penix just ran 19-plus miles per hour on a scramble. I mean, they're tracking everything during these. Could there be enough hype around Michael Penix, a Bo Nix, some other quarterback to come all the way up and maybe present a trade option from a team desperate to fill a quarterback position?
Anything could happen, but I don't think it should. So, yes, could someone fall in love with Bo Nix? Could someone fall in love with Michigan's J.J. McCarthy? Yeah, it could happen, because so many teams need a quarterback. However, I think it's unlikely. You would need like the Minnesota Vikings who tried trading up last year and couldn't. You would need them to say, hey, we got to go get our guy. And here's what could help you guys. As I'm talking, I just thought of this. Next year's quarterback class doesn't have a dude. There's not a Trevor Lawrence. There's not a Caleb Williams. There's not, next year it's going to be very wide open at the quarterback position. So if you are a front office and you feel like, hey, we don't do something, we're going to get fired, this might be the year where you say, okay, you know what? We'll trade up for J.J. McCarthy because we have to get a quarterback in here. So, yeah, you can see that pressure from, the Atlanta Falcons, the Minnesota Vikings, someone like that. You could definitely see it, and that would be good news for you guys. However, there's some pretty dang good wide receivers who are going to be on the board at number 4 overall that I would be afraid of trading out of that spot and missing out on one of those guys.
Yeah, that's just what I was going to ask you right there, Matt. Your thoughts on Marvin Harrison Jr.?
Oh, he's great. I mean, truly great. To be 6'4" and have the body control that he has is unexpected. I think when people hear Marvin Harrison, they picture his dad, who was 6'1", 200 pounds. He's 6'4", 215, and he plays with a craftiness that you don't expect at that size. there are things that I would say he's got to get better at. This is not a flawless prospect. There are some focus drops. I'd like to see him be a little tougher through contact, but that's coachable. That's fixable. And I think you're getting a day one, true top-tier wide receiver who, if we're talking next year at the Senior Bowl and it's like, hey, Marvin Harrison Jr. looks like he's a top 5 NFL wide receiver, I would believe it. He has that type of just innate ability, and I think the drive to be great too.
ESPN NFL Draft analyst and insider Matt Miller from the Senior Bowl on Arizona Sports. So the Cardinals have a question at left tackle right now. It might be Paris Johnson Jr., but we saw DJ Humphrey suffer the torn ACL at the end of the season. Is this draft as loaded as everyone says at offensive tackle? And the Cardinals have a second first-round pick, number 27 overall. Could you feasibly get a franchise tackle at number 27 in this loaded draft?
It is that loaded. It really is. I think I had like 7 or 8 offensive tackles in the last kind of mock draft exercise I did, which you look down at your paper and you're like, that's too many tackles. But they're that good. There are 7 or 8 players ranked in my top 30. So it is a good year for tackle. I will be very curious to see, because of the premium placed on the position, how many teams say, hey, we're at 15 overall. Let's take a tackle, because this is the best player on the board. So when you get to pick 24, I think that is the hard part of, there should be a guy there. There's 7 or 8 of them that look like starters, but we could see a run. So that is something that, as fans are watching on Thursday night of the draft is, okay, when does the run on receivers happen? When does the run on tackles happen? Because it could, unfortunately, be a situation where kind of picked over by the time you're in the mid-20s.
Matty, what do you think NFL scouts value the most, the practices or the game itself?
Oh, practice, without a doubt. I mean, I'm going to leave town tonight. Most of the NFL scouts are going to leave town tonight. You can watch the game on TV, and the game's fun. The game helps. It's a good opportunity to see how guys compete, but the practices are what matter. For me, there's still players I hadn't seen in person, obviously, so this is a great time to do that, to see. I want to see how Bo Nix moves in person. I want to see the arm strength of Michael Penix. So the practices matter the most. It's like the combine where, it's the stuff on TV is not the most important part, but it's the stuff that people want to watch on TV. But, it's the medicals and the interviews, the important part of the combine. It's similar here where the practices and the interviews are what matter, and the game kind of pays for all that.
All right, my last question for Matt Miller, ESPN NFL Draft analyst and insider. You mentioned a couple of pass rushers off the top. Do you want to name a couple of names? And my question, look, you have a Cardinals team. If the NFL is all about quarterback and getting to the quarterback, Cardinals had 1 sack over the final 6 games. If there was that guy at number 4, like a Myles Garrett, I'm convinced they would take that guy. But is there that guy in this year's draft, whether it's Dallas Turner out of Bama, Jared Verse, Florida State? I mean, is there a pass rush or an edge guy worthy of number 4 in this draft?
Not in my opinion. You're on the money there with Dallas Turner from Alabama, who is, if you're going to make an argument for anyone, it's him because the traits and the tools. He's obviously not here this week. Darius Robinson from Missouri, who is going to be a late first-round pick, has had a tremendous week here. 290 pounds, but he plays off the ball as a pass rusher. It's crazy to watch. UCLA's Leatu Latu, who I reported this morning, he's out for the week with a little bit of a leg injury, but he's someone top 15 pick potential. So there are still some good pass rushers who are here. But as to your question, is there a guy this year you take in the top 5? I don't think there is. I think we're gonna see the pass rushers probably go more in the teens.
Have you heard of Graham Barton, the offensive lineman from Duke? Matt, have you heard of him?
Absolutely.
Okay, what your thoughts on this dude?
Yeah, no, versatility is the big thing, and we've seen that this week. He's played some tackle, he's played some guard, he's played some center. I don't think his future is a center, but I do think whether it be an NFL left tackle for a zone scheme, there are definitely teams that think he could be a really good Pro Bowl caliber guard as well. So he's had a good week.
All right, Matt, we appreciate the knowledge, and we have thin blood in Arizona, so it's good to hear you're warm this year. Keep that up.
Yeah, maybe they'll move the combine to Phoenix one year, and we'll all be happy.
Yes. Hey, they move around the draft. Why not move the combine and everything else, right?
There we go.
Yeah. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
That's interesting, right? Number 27 overall. Yeah. Don't forget about that Houston first-round pick for the Cardinals, Ron Wolfley. So it could be the tackle, or Darius Robinson, whose name has been mentioned a lot, defensive lineman out of Mizzou, 290 pounds,
Like it.
who has been a wrecking ball all week, apparently, in the practices.
Thanks for watching Wolf and Luke. Tap to see more and click the button in the middle to subscribe to Arizona Sports.